Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So we have our second part of our series on hosting and guesting as we prepare for Ramadan, as a lot of us will go to and have people over for iftars at our house. I thought it'd be important to go over some of the etiquettes and the sunnahs of being a guest, which we talked about last time. And tonight, inshallah, we're talking about being a host. One thing actually I forgot to mention last time about being a guest is sometimes people feel a little perplexed. What should they do when it comes to the halal meat issue, right? So for instance, someone will go to somebody's house. They know that person eats food outside and meat outside, but they themselves don't. And from the etiquettes is that you eat and accept whatever the people offer you, right? And you don't inquire and ask. I remember one time we had a sheikh, and we had one of the young students, and the sheikh is hosting people. One of the young students in his, and the sheikh himself personally would eat meat outside, right? No problem. But he's hosting sheikhs and students of knowledge and all these things. And one of the young students, in his exuberance, he goes, "Sheikh, is this meat halal?" Right in front of everybody. You know? And this is kind of improper. It's actually really improper, right? Like the sheikh is like, "No, it's haram. I'm going to serve you guys haram food here in this gathering of I'm a sheikh and all the mashayikh here and the students of knowledge." It's not very proper. So you eat what the people offer you, and if you feel like you don't want to, right, then you do as the Prophet ﷺ, when he was offered food that he didn't want to eat, he said, "This is not the food of my people." So if you are going to somebody's house and you don't want to eat that food, right, you shouldn't first off ask. Secondly, if you don't want to, right, you don't personally, okay, no problem. You don't have to eat whatever you don't want to. Just say it in a polite manner, find out a nice way to say it. Say, "Oh, tonight I'm actually not going to be eating meat," whatever, right? But don't ask, where'd you buy the meat from, all that kind of stuff. It's improper, right? You're at your Muslim brother's house, your Muslim sister's house. Eat the meat or don't, but don't turn it into an issue and don't inquire, don't ask, because you might offend somebody. So let's talk about being a host, hosting people. Before arriving, make sure that it's always important to have clear expectations. Don't expect them to bring a gift, for instance. But if they do, don't reject it. Okay? Don't reject it, accept it. And if you want to even serve it, you can do that as well. Make sure that the house is clean, the restrooms are clean. Make sure that the person, they have food allergies or something like that. Make sure you take that into account. Some people, they're lactose intolerant. Some people, they don't have a problem with spice. Some people have a huge problem with spice, right? Some people are allergic to cats, right? Or animals like rabbits and stuff like that. So make sure you have all these things understood. If they have children, make sure you hide all the expensive stuff that breaks, right? Anything that breaks, move it, right? Or have a designated area for the kids to play. When they arrive, make sure you don't show the stress that being a host is, right? Hosting people is very stressful for everybody involved. So make sure you don't show that distress to the people. If they're early, don't complain. If they're running late, which Muslim standard time, right? If they're running late, save them a dish or something like that. Don't be like, "Oh, why are you so late?" This and that. Obviously, it's kind of like improper, especially in Ramadan. You don't want to put people in a bad thing. Maybe it took long, or the kids had a problem, or whatever it was. Okay? When people come, make sure you respond to them and host them, and you have a welcoming welcome, they say. Ibrahim alayhi salam, when the angels came to him, they said this is one of the first incidents, and we take like being a good host from Ibrahim alayhi salam. When the angels came to his house, قالوا سلاما, right? They said salama. So he said salamun. Actually, and the scholars say that he responded to them with actually a greater and a better greeting than what they said to him. And then he privately went out and he made food for them and he brought it to them. Okay? And so this is also another etiquette, right? If you're hosting people or whatever, just give them and offer them. Don't ask them, do you want something? So for example, someone comes over unexpectedly, maybe make a small fruit plate, fruits, whatever it is, and just offer it to them. Don't ask them, hey, are you hungry? Just go ahead and offer. That way they don't feel shy to say no. Huh? And make sure you honor your guests. As the Prophet ﷺ, he says, Ya ayyuhan nasu, afshu salam. Right? Oh, people, spread salam. وَأَطْعِمُوا الطَّعَامِ, and feed the people. وَصِلُوا الْأَرْحَامِ, and keep the ties of kinship. وَصَلُّوا بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّاسُ نِيَامِ, and pray at night when the people are sleeping. تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ بِسَلَامٍ, you will enter Jannah with peace. Okay? So make sure you host people, and hosting people is a great act of worship. I remember I was at a sheikh's house one day, and we had some out-of-town shuyukh. And they were there, and so the sheikh invited people over to his house. And the sheikh had like a lot of back problems. So as he's preparing the food in the kitchen, I go to offer to help him, right? He was someone who was raised in Saudi Arabia. So they have they put all the food on one giant plate and everybody eats from it. And so the sheikh has back problems, and there's this huge big thing that, half of a lamb looks like it's on it, and the rice and everything. So I go and I try to help him carry it, and so he pushes me away. He says, no, this is the greatest act of ibadah I could be doing right now, so I want to do it. Right? Even though his back is hurting and everything. So hosting people, it's an act of ibadah. So put in that effort. Give them the best of seating, show them where they can go, show them ahead of time if they've never been to your house, where they can go, the restroom and all that kind of stuff. That way they know where they're supposed to be. And don't be stingy with food, right? Give them preference and serve them first. And encourage them to eat more. And this is, different cultures have different tactics with this. So for instance, in Arab culture, right? We force 2, 3, 4 plates on a person. And if they don't eat, it's rude, right? Well, you don't like the food or something. And we should be a little bit more lenient and gentle with people, advise them and ask them, please have some more, and offer them. But if they say no, don't force it on the people, because it could lead people to uncomfortable situations. I remember, so in Arab culture, you have to do this whole kind of dance thing, right? You offer the food, and you're not supposed to accept it the first time. You say, no, I'm full, alhamdulillah. They say, no, please eat. You say, no, please. Okay, fine, right? You have to do this 2, 3 times, right? If they offer you, and you accept it the first time, it's not proper, right? You have to say no. It's kind of like a game in a sense. So I remember one time I was at a friend's house, and he wasn't Arab, he was like a white friend. So he offers food, and I'm like, no, I'm okay. He's like, okay, and he puts a plate back. I was like, no, I want it, man. I forget what happened here. I'm still hungry, right? So, and then one time my friend, Pakistani friend, he comes over, and so my mom, he puts his plate, and of course, it's fully loaded, mashallah, the first plate. So he eats it, he can barely eat the first plate, barely after half an hour he finishes it. So he takes the plate and puts another whole thing on there. And he's like, oh, I'm so full. He's like, no, eat. He's like, no, I'm full. He's like, eat it, you have to eat it. And it turns into an argument almost, right? So understand people's cultures and be lenient with the people. Don't force people, If you're going to go to somebody that's in Arab and they're going to do this kind of thing, right? And you don't want to eat a lot, put less on the first plate, because then they're going to give you more on the second plate, and that'll be your full, inshallah. So just understand the cultures and the sensitivities and these kinds of tactics, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and again, reminder that Ramadan is the month of ibadah. However, don't let shaitan trick you into doing a lesser ibadah, missing out on greater ibadah. So hosting people, being with them, this is an act of ibadah, you should do it. But at the same time, you can also host people outside of the month of Ramadan as well, right? So host people, no problem, but don't allow it to make you miss Isha and Taraweeh and Fajr the next morning and all of these things. So host people, give them food, serve people, but again, don't make it the entire act of worship that night alone. As the month of Ramadan is the month where you're supposed to, the month of the Quran, the month of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so come close to Him. Not only through serving, but even also other acts of worship as well. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى اللهم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين جزاك الله خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله